Good morning, everybody. Well, I didn't think I'd be back so soon, but I made some changes. I had something happen. I always tell you folks that nothing else, watch me, learn from my mistakes. I made a big one this week. Yeah, I made a mistake, and that's concerning Lomax. We'll get to that a little later, but I wanted to make sure you knew about it. And no, I'm not going to wait to the very end. I've watched some of these guys on YouTube. You have to watch to the end to see it. No, you don't. It's a 20-minute video. I just move forward 18 minutes and see it. So, no, I'm not going to pull that one. But let's start out. First thing I did. Oops, sorry about the sun. Brought in the round bale of alfalfa. I got the alfalfa round bale in. Now, you say, well, how do you get a big round bale in there? Basically, here it is when it's open. All right? And all it amounts to is I take 2 screws out of one side, I take 3 screws out of the other, pull a pin, the whole thing opens up, and you put a round bale in. Yeah, it's a little bit of work, but here's the deal. I'm feeding some ewes right now, but within a month, it'll just be the rams. So I'm gonna have 6 rams, all right? Now, feeding hay, 2% body weight, 100-pound sheep would get 2 pounds of hay a day. The 2 big rams are over 100, clearly, but the 4 little ones are not. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say I got 6 rams and they're all 100 pounds each. That means 12 pounds of hay a day. So let's call that 20. Got waste. 20 pounds of hay a day, 30 days a month, 600 pounds. Those bales weigh 1,800 pounds. That bale should last 3 months. That bale should last almost 3 months. That's the winter. So by the time I get those 2 bales in place, I should have enough pretty close to lasting the entire winter just on that. The ewes, they get their hay out of the barn, and behind that white tarp, there's 4 more round bales back there. That's what goes for the ewes. So yeah, it's a little bit of a pain changing that, but really, I've only had to do it twice, and I probably won't have to do it again until next fall. All right. Told you I wouldn't hold you up. That's what we did, what I did, and get to it. First thing I did, we changed pastures, all right? This pasture was just going to waste. There's a lot of good grass. I couldn't put anybody out there because you can't put 2 rams next to each other. You're going to have a problem. But I put Lomax and the ewes in a pasture way over there. I put Stony and these ewes in the pasture here. And then I did some changing with some corral panels. Let me go around the other side. I'll show you what I did on the panels and show you why that got me in trouble. All right, so what did I do to keep everybody away from everybody? I moved a bunch of corral panels. I got all the corral panels, so here's what I did. In this corner, I put into this chain link, whatever I could put in so they wouldn't get next to the fence, so they wouldn't get right here where the sheep have to come out to go down this long alleyway here. Put in more corral panels here, more corral panels over there. And that way in the end, I got a nice big buffer zone where the 2 rams can't get next to each other. I thought, and here's where the problems begin. Here's where I wasn't too smart. And here's where I got real lucky, all right? Right here, you can see now 3 rolls of baling twine holding it. I had 1 piece of baling wire holding those 2 together. Well, what I'm assuming happened is Lomax came along and started beating on this one, popped it off, opened it up. And when I looked out, down by the end of that corral panel down there, he and Stony were trying to go at each other through the fence. Don't want them next to the fence, so that's what happened. So I pushed this corral panel back, got the ewes out, I got him out, and when I got up, most of my corral panels here have wire on them, just like this right here, this 2x4-inch mesh. That's on there, so when I got lambs, the lambs can't go through the panels. Well, that panel has wire on it, and guess what? Stony's horn is hooked in the wire. So back inside, grab a wire cutters, back outside, snip the wire, 1 spot, and he's free and he's gone. And I know right now you said, yeah, you were lucky. Well, that wasn't the lucky part. The lucky part's still coming. So, Stony's out now, and going up the alley here, You can go up here, it's about 30 feet, maybe more than that. The ewes were up here, Lomax was up here. So my idea is I wanted to push Lomax and the ewes out to that pasture. I thought, get out in that pasture, get far away from these guys, and then they won't see each other and they'll be okay. Well, I got about right here. Let me hang you on the post. Hang on. All right. All right. I got about right here. And it's about, I don't know, 25, 30 feet past to get back there. 25 foot. And while the ewes went out, Lomax decided he wasn't going anywhere. And he was about 10, 15 feet in front of me. And he decided, no, I want to get back down, whether it was to Stony. Yeah, let's face it, he was a little aggravated. He just was fighting through the fence with Stony, so he's all charged up and ready to go. And he decides, I don't need to go back to those ewes. I'm standing right here. And all of a sudden I realized it's a long way back there, and I can't turn around and go. And if I start backing up, and I start backing like this, guess what he thinks? He thinks I want to fight. So I couldn't do that. So, I'll take you back off the post. What I did, and I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, I came to him. He was there, I yelled, I was yelling at him, waving my arms, doing all to make myself look as big as I could, and I advanced on him. And I got within 6 feet of him. When I got within about 6 feet, he backed up a step. And when he backed up a step, I took a step forward. And he backed up and I took a step forward. And we kept doing that. And it took us a few minutes till we finally got to the gate opening in here. And at that point in time, he's standing about right there, about 4 feet away. I was able to open the gate, swing the gate back, get on the other side. And that was the end of that. That was stupid. And I was lucky, both. I mean, I don't know if he'd have done anything, but I should have never came up here in a 12-foot wide area with a ram that's just been aggressive with another ram. It's like I got in, you know, they always say when there's two guys fighting, don't step in between them. Yeah, well, that's what I did. I stepped in between two guys that were fighting. A stupid maneuver on me, and I was lucky I came out of it without any problems. I'm not going to tell you that's the way you handle that by walking towards them. I'm going to tell you, I'm just telling you that's what I did. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. Maybe it's 100% wrong thing to do, but technically the 100% wrong thing to do was getting up here to begin with. That's where I was stupid. I should have stayed back there and just said, forget the whole thing. Nothing else, close the gate. Close another gate, let them figure it out themselves. So there's my mistake. I made it. Don't make the same mistake. And we'll just say we were lucky on this one. Within 2 hours, they were back in. I was feeding grain. You wouldn't even know anything happened. I mean, it was just like, no big deal. Everything was just perfectly fine. Nothing went on. It's like, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember any of it. So, and Stony was the same way. If it was Stony for an hour or so, he was pacing and stuff. Give it an hour and everybody kind of forgot it, and that was the end of that. And they were off doing their own thing and they were fine. And to me, that's why rams can be the worst. All right, and I've said a long time ago, I've been around livestock all my life. My dad had a small locker plant. I spent a lot of years around bulls. And whether we had bulls or cows, or whether we ran bulls through the locker plant for making a hamburger. I mean, I, as a kid and all the way through, spent a lot of years around bulls. And bulls, they're either not bad or they're mean. I mean, you kind of know. That's a mean one. Watch out. That one's not a problem. And when you put bulls out with cows, I never saw any aggression from bulls around cows. So sheep is just something totally different. Dealing with rams is just something totally different than all those years I dealt with bulls. Not the same thing. Rams are much more unpredictable. All right, 2 things. Winterizing. Made a change. Yeah, I put some new stuff on here. This first bay had always been open. I thought you might want to take a bobcat and get in to clean. I've never done it. So I went ahead and I put the steel on, and I did that because at south side, you can see right now, the sun is shining all the way to the back wall. So the sun gets back all the way, so when it's cold in the winter and the wind's blowing out of the north, they can lay up under there. They're out of the wind, they're in the sun, it's a warm spot. My problem can come with a big snowstorm. Here comes a snowstorm, big winds, the winds come over, and even with the bunt, it kind of curls underneath. And I've seen that hay feeder almost full of snow just because of the snow that's blowing in. So, turn this way so you don't get you in the sun. I did something to work on that. I'll show you here. I installed 3 sheets of OSB, 4x8 sheets, and I've got them hooked up higher. When a snowstorm is coming, all I got to do is pull the hay feeder back, unhook them, swing them down. They're on hinges. They'll be about 4 or 5 inches off the ground at that time, so they won't be totally to the ground. I got a small opening here. They can go out, and of course the end, they're going to be able to go out. But now this should keep a lot of the snow from coming back under cover. I could put them back in the catch pen, but I don't necessarily want to do that if I don't have to. Maybe come lambing, I'm more inclined to do that, but January, February, I just soon leave them out here. It's easier to clean this, but this will keep the snow out. Now, one other thing in winter, tank heaters. I usually talk about this every fall. Here's my tank for these guys. Now, my normal water tank, where I have it for the rams, here we go, is one of these tubs. Those are the tubs I buy, Tractor Supply. 17-gallon tub, works great. The problem is early in the spring when you got lambs, the lambs sometimes can't reach that. That's the one the lambs can reach. So that's why I'm using that one. But otherwise in the ram pens, I'm just using the 17-gallon plastic tub. The reason I like doing that, turning around again, my heaters. There's my heater for this. A lot of you probably recognize maybe as a bucket chaser, bucket heater. They got all kinds of small names for them. But that's only a 250 watt heater. All right, so 250 watts. A lot of your tank heaters that you buy, the sinking ones or the floating ones, most of those are 1,000 or 1,500 watt tank heaters. That's a lot of electricity when it doesn't get above freezing all day long, or maybe for a month, it spends most of the time below freezing. At 250 watts, I'm running 3 tank heaters, and they're using half the electricity one of those 1,500 watt floating tank heaters uses. Now, disadvantage, if I want to keep that really full, I'd probably put 5 gallons of water in each day, maybe a little bit less. But I'm usually putting water in them every day or every other day, just because it's a real small tank and I want that tank really full. If you want a tank that you can run a hose out to and you might go for a week and not have to fill the tank, that heater is probably not going to work for you. All right, that heater is probably too small and you get the job done. But when you got a small tank, those 17-gallon tubs from Tractor Supply, I had one of those sitting next to this building outside, just sitting outside with one of those in it. I mean, 20 below, I might have had a little skim of ice on top. But if it was 0, no, I didn't have any ice. And that's sitting out where the wind hits it and everything else. Once you put them inside a building, and all 3 of my tank heaters now, or tanks are inside a building, it can get pretty cold even with that in there. Not going to bother it. So if you're buying tank heaters, I'll just give you a little tip on what I do. A little bit smaller wattage, and well, I should say a lot smaller wattage, I still get the job done. So as far as rams and ewes, no activity. I've seen nothing from anybody, so I'm going to assume we're still good. Now, we still have probably a week, maybe not quite a week, for the last couple of them that were bred real late. So we still have 1 or 2 opportunities that something could still not be bred, but I'll keep the eye on the activity over the next week and we'll see. Otherwise, maybe we're good. Main thing is I want to come back and let you know how I screwed up. Mistake I made, so you don't make the same mistake. We always say don't trust rams, don't trust rams. Yeah, I think we say it so much sometimes that we kind of forget, yeah, we're not supposed to trust him. He's never been a problem any other time, but, and he didn't do anything there. He just wouldn't back down. It took him a little bit to get him to back down. My mistake. It wasn't his mistake, my mistake. And I learned from it. Yeah, hopefully you get something out of that too. All right, we'll see what next spring brings. We'll see what next week brings. If anything happens, we'll be back. Otherwise, maybe we might not see you for a couple weeks yet. Take care.